Very good morning, dear students. Today we shall discuss the poem Frost at Midnight, written by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. As you know, that Coleridge is also one of the famous romantic poets. He also belongs to romantic revival. Both Wordsworth and Coleridge worked together also. So let's go first about the introduction of the poet, a brief introduction, and then we shall try to know the theme of this poem, Frost at Midnight. In fact, what the poet wants to say. And then we will go with the explanations of the lines of this poem. So let us go with the poet. As he was born in 1772 and died in 1834. So he also did not live too much. At the age of 62 he died. English poet, as well as he was literary critic, philosopher, theologian, who with his friend William Wordsworth. So William Wordsworth was his close friend. He was a founder of the Romantic movement. We know that the Romantic revival started in 1770. And these poets, Wordsworth was also born in 1770. So this movement in fact starts with Wordsworth and Coleridge. And these poets are called as lake poets. They are the member of the lake poets. He wrote the poems The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which is one of the famous poem, and Kubla Khan, also one, as well as the major prose work Biographia Literaria. This is one of the best major work, prose work. And his critical work is also there, that is especially on William Shakespeare. And which was because Coleridge was very highly influenced by William Shakespeare, so he has written a critic essay on William Shakespeare. He also coined many familiar words and phrases. I hope that you will come across those phrases while reading these poems, just like suspension of disbelief. This is the phrase which is very famous regarding Coleridge. Kubla Khan, when you go through the poem Kubla Khan, you will see this reflection of this phrase, or the conception, or we can say the principle of this phrase, which is very much attached to the poet. We shall also find suspension of disbelief in the rime of the Ancient Mariner. What is the meaning of suspension of disbelief? We will discuss about it later on. Throughout his adult life, Coleridge had crippling bouts of anxiety and depression. It has been speculated about him that he had bipolar disorder, so that physically or from health point of view he was not good at all. He was physically unhealthy, that may have stemmed from a bout of rheumatic fever and other childhood illnesses. So see how such famous poets also had health problems, serious health problems, and even then they continued their work. He was treated for these conditions with laudanum, which fostered a lifelong opium addiction. So he used to take the opium because of this kind of problem, and therefore he became addict of the opium. Now let's just try to know the theme or the gist of the poem that we are going to talk about. So, Frost at Midnight is a poem by Coleridge. It was written in February 1798, and in February 1798, Wordsworth also wrote lyrical ballads. Part of the conversation poem. So it is the part of the conversation poems. Coleridge has written certain poems which are called as conversational poems. And this poem discusses Coleridge's childhood experience in a negative manner and emphasizes the need to be raised in the countryside. So, in this poem, we have his own childhood experiences, that how he enjoyed his childhood and how he was in the close contact of nature in his childhood. But as he moved towards the cities, towards the metropolitan, towards the city life, urban life, that he was devoid or avoid of the nature, lovely nature. And in Wordsworth, we also find the same. So both the poets were the ardent lover of nature. They loved nature. Although little differences you can say are there, but Coleridge and Wordsworth are very much close to each other in this respect or regarding the love for nature. Both spiritualizes the nature. Both sees a spirit in nature that guides us, that makes us men, that teaches us. So they also see a teacher in the nature. And we also, we should approve, we should also acknowledge that nature is our best teacher. In this poem, the poem expresses the hope that Coleridge's son, Hartley, would be able to experience his childhood. So, since Coleridge, although has lost the same, but he hopes that his son, whose name was Hartley, he would be able to experience his own childhood in the lap of nature. And as he could not and become a true child of nature, but he desires, he hopes, he expects that his child should definitely learn from nature and should be grown in the lap of nature, should be develop in the lap of nature. So the view of nature within the poem has a strong Christian element in that Coleridge believed. So the Christian element, that is the pagan. There is a pagan in the nature. There is God in nature. He believed that nature represents a physical presence of God's words, and that the poem is steeped in Coleridge's understanding of Neoplatonism. So Platonism definitely believing in God, and it is Neoplatonism, that is, they found God in nature, and nature is a bigger God, greatest God, in fact. So this is the gist, or this is the theme of the poem that we are going to talk about. So basically, the poem is about nature. Basically, the poem is about the love and attachment of the poet towards the nature. And he regrets also that he could not enjoy the nature in his childhood as much as he should have. But he hopes the same or the better for his own son, that he should be brought up in the lap of nature. He should learn from the nature. Right? Now come with the stanza 1 of this poem. And we will do only this stanza in this our lecture. Another stanza. There are in fact 4 stanzas in this poem, and we will do the remaining 3 stanzas in our next lecture. So let's go with the stanza 1. The frost performs its secret ministry, unhelped by any wind. The owlet's cry came loud and hark again loud as before. The inmates of my cottage, all at rest, have left me to that solitude which shoots abstruse musings, save that at my side my cradled infant slumbers peacefully. So these are the lines from stanza 1 of this poem. So here we have to see the location. एंड फ्रोस्ट तो आप अच्छी तरह जानते हैं. फ्रोस्ट जो भी आपका जो बर्फ़ जमना है, एक तरह से कुहरा है ना, ये सब क्या है, फ्रोस्ट है. जब फ्रोस्ट चारों तरफ जम जाता है, बर्फ़ जम जाता है, उस समय का सीन जो है कि पोइट जो है फ्रोस्ट एट मिडनाइट. सो मिडनाइट इज़ देयर, यू सी द टाइम दैट इज़ द मिडनाइट अबाउट विच द पोइट इज़ टॉकिंग. एंड फ्रॉस्ट, ही इज़ टॉकिंग अबाउट द फ्रोस्ट, जब बर्फ़ जम जाती है, वो भी मिडनाइट का सीन. और लोकेशन कहाँ है, लोकेशन उसके घर पे, खुद के घर पे पोइट के, उसको वो डिस्क्राइब कर रहा है इसमें. सो द पोएम टेक्स प्लेस इन ए कॉटेज. ही इज़ लिविंग इन ए कॉटेज लेट एट नाइट, दैट इज़ मिडनाइट, एंड he is up while everyone else has gone to bed. So the poet is here waking. He is not sleeping. Whereas there is complete silence. Everyone else has gone to bed. See the lines. Frost performs its secret ministry. So at that time, that is in the midnight, late in the night, when everyone is sleeping, has gone to bed, but the poet is awaking. Poet is waking, not sleeping. And then he observes that there is the frost outside everywhere. And the frost is performing its secret ministry. So, its secret ministry, that is, ministry is there, and frost is supposed to be some kind of king or some kind of the administration. And there is this ministry means other objects are also, they are helping the frost to perform its functions, unhelped by any wind. And it's not helped by wind, unhelped by any wind. So it means there is no wind at all. The wind is also not blowing, complete peace. The owlet's cry came loud. अब जो आउलेट्स हैं उनकी जो है कि क्राई आ रही है, तो आउलेट्स की क्राई जरूर थोड़ा सा डिस्टर्ब कर रही है, हल्का सा. एंड हार्क अगेन लाउड एज बिफोर. द इनमेट्स ऑफ माई कॉटेज ऑल एट रेस्ट, बट ऑल द इनमेट्स ऑफ द पोइट्स कॉटेज, दे ऑल आर एट द रेस्ट. They are sleeping. They have gone to their bed. And therefore, the poet has been left to that solitude. The solitude, the loneliness, the peace, the calm, quietness. So since everyone has gone to bed, except there is some cry or some loud noise of the owlets. आउलेट्स को अपन बैट्स भी कह सकते हैं यहाँ पे, जो बैट्स हैं, चमगादड़ हैं, उनकी जो है कि आवाज़ ज़रूर जो है कि हल्की आ रही है. इसके अलावा देर इज़ कंप्लीट पीस which shoots abstruse musing. Or since there is complete peace, complete solitude, complete loneliness, this kind of environment, the poet says that it shoots him for his abstruse musings. Abstruse का मतलब है यहाँ पे जो म्यूजिंग्स हैं, उसके जो मेडिटेशंस हैं, उसके जो थॉट्स हैं, और वो भी थॉट्स कैसे, एब्स्ट्रूजस, दैट विच कैन नॉट बी अंडरस्टूड, इट मीन्स डिफिकल्ट थॉट्स. तो कि डिफ़िकल्ट थॉट्स के लिए, म्यूजिंग करने के लिए, मेडिटेशन करने के लिए ये जो एनवायरनमेंट है, पोइट ये कहता है दैट इज़ द बेस्ट वन फॉर हिम. एक्सेप्ट सेव दैट एट माई साइड माई क्रेडल्ड इन्फेंट स्लम्बर्स पीसफुली. और जो उसका जो बच्चा है, एक्सेप्ट जो उसका बच्चा है, उसके अलावा जो कि उसके साइड में है और वो छोटा है, वो क्रेडल के अंदर जो है आराम से पीसफुली सो रहा है. तो चारों तरफ शांति है, पास में बच्चा सो रहा है, और ऐसा अनुकूल समय पोइट के लिए है कि जब वो कोई भी चीज़ जो है रिकलेक्ट कर सकता है, मेडिटेशन कर रहा है, और ऐसी थॉट्स उसके माइंड में आ रहे हैं कि जो विच आर वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड. So here, as a result of this stillness, the speaker can let his mind delve into abstruse musing. So the poet is now going into deep with the thoughts, abstruse musings, which are obscure thoughts, difficult thoughts, the kind of things people ponder when they are up late at night. So generally ऐसे जो विचार हैं, ऑब्सक्योर थॉट्स हैं, वो जनरली कब आते हैं हमें, जबकि हम नाइट में नींद नहीं आती है और हम उस पर पॉन्डर करते हैं, माने मेडिटेशन करते हैं, तो ऐसे जो है कि आइडियाज़ हमारे माइंड में आते हैं. आई थिंक यू हैव फॉलोड दीज लाइन्स वेरी वेल. नाउ कम टू अनदर लाइन्स ऑफ दिस पोएम. It's calm indeed, so calm that it disturbs and vexes meditation with its strange and extreme silentness. So very calm there. The poet says that tonight it's very calm, and in fact it's so calm that his thoughts are disrupted by the unusual and extreme quiet. तो चूँकि ज़्यादा और असाधारण शांति है, उससे भी पोइट ये कह रहा है कि उसके जो थॉट्स हैं, उसके जो मेडिटेशंस हैं, उसके आइडियाज़ हैं, जो एब्स्ट्रूज म्यूजिंग्स हैं, दे आर बीइंग डिस्ट्रप्टेड, दे आर डिस्टर्ब्ड. Sea, hill and wood, this populous village sea and hill and wood, with all the numberless goings on life. So sea है, hill है, wood है, और populous जो village है, the village which is very much crowded with the people, फिर sea, hill, wood, ये सब जो numberless जो activity है, that is going on of this life. So he means to say that activity in this life are going on, and this village where he is staying is definitely with a population, bigger population, populous village. So he says, sea, hills, forest, and this town that is full of people, they all the endless things in this seas, हिल, वुड और टाउन. टाउन में भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें अपने आप जो आ रही हैं, खूब हो रहा है, खूब एक्टिविटी हो रही है. सी के अंदर सी करंट्स बह रही हैं, हिल के अंदर अलग टाइप की जो एक्टिविटी कंटिन्यू है, वुड के अंदर अलग टाइप की एक्टिविटी कंटिन्यू है. सो दे ऑल आर मीन्स एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग ऑन इनसाइड देम एंड आर एज साइलेंट एज ड्रीम्स. और ये एक्टिविटीज़ क्या है, दे आर साइलेंट एक्टिविटीज़, मीन्स अपने आप हो रही हैं, कोई उनको जो है कि कहीं उनका कोई डिस्टर्बेंस नहीं है, और वे इतने साइलेंट हैं जैसे कि ड्रीम्स. अपन जो ड्रीम्स लेते हैं, दे आर इन फैक्ट साइलेंट. इन द सेम वे द एक्टिविटीज़ विच आर गोइंग इन द सी, इन द हिल्स, इन द फॉरेस्ट और इन द टाउन, they are silent. अब उस साइलेंस में क्या हो रहा है? इनऑडिबल एज ड्रीम्स. ओके, इनऑडिबल है, दैट यू कैनॉट हियर, जस्ट लाइक द ड्रीम्स. जैसे ड्रीम्स को हम सुन नहीं सकते, इस तरह से इनको भी नहीं सुन सकते. द थिन ब्लू फ्लेम lies on my low burnt fire and queers not. Only that film which fluttered on the grate still flutters there, the sole unquiet thing. So now ये जो solitudeness है, ये जो peace है, ये calmness है, उसमें पोइट के ऐसे जो विचार आ रहे हैं, थॉट्स आ रहे हैं, और वो भी एब्स्ट्रूज हैं. तो वहाँ उसको क्या विचार आ रहा है, क्या देख रहा है वो, कि देर इज ओनली ए स्मॉल ब्लू फ्लेम इन माई फायर प्लेस. द पोइट ऑल्सो सीज फायर प्लेस बिकॉज कोल्ड रीजन्स है, तो डेफिनेटली देर इज ऑलवेज ए फायर प्लेस इन रूम्स एंड इन देयर हाउसेज. सो वॉट ही सीज दैट देर इज ए स्मॉल ब्लू फ्लेम, बहुत ही छोटी और एक नीली सी एक फ्लेम, ज्वाला, आग की जो धधक है, एक तरह से लो है, वो उसके फायर प्लेस में से आ रही है. वेयर द फायर इज डाइंग, और इस फायर प्लेस में क्या हो रहा है? आग खत्म होती जा रही है, फायर फिनिश होती जा रही है, लेकिन उसमें से एक छोटी सी जो है कि नीली सी हल्की सी फ्लेम जो है निकल रही है. एंड इट डजंट मूव, ओनली द फिल्म ऑफ सूट ऑन द ग्रेट. अब ये जो फिल्म है सूट की, सूट का मतलब है एक तरह से अपन कह सकते हैं डस्ट, राख, जली हुई. फिल्म ऑफ सूट है वो ग्रेट ऑफ द फायर. ग्रेट ऑफ द फायर, जो फायर है, फायर प्लेस है, जो वहाँ एक तरह से अपन अपनी भाषा में उसको अंगीठी समझ सकते हैं, उसके जो ग्रेट हैं, ग्रेट का मतलब, ग्रेट मीन्स हियर, ग्रेट का मतलब है जो उस फायर प्लेस में जो एक तरह से वो जो लोहे की या और किसी की जो है कि उसके अंदर वो सरिये लगे हुए रहते हैं, अपन ये कह सकते हैं अपनी भाषा के अंदर, और वो रोड्स जो लगी हुई होती है एक तरह से, जैसे जो भी हीटर होता है तो उसमें भी जैसे रोड्स लगी हुई होती हैं, उनमें से होकर के जो है कि एक ये फिल्म जो है आ रही है, देख रही है. द पोइट इज लुकिंग दैट. एंड दिस फिल्म ऑफ सूट ऑन द ग्रेट, ओके, ऑन द ग्रेट ऑफ द फायर प्लेस इज स्टिल फ्लटरिंग. ये अभी भी जो है कि फ्लटरिंग कर रही है, मानी एक तरह से बाहर आ रही है, निकल रही है और उड़ रही है, यूँ कह सकते हैं. फ्लटरिंग जैसे बर्ड्स जो फ्लटरिंग करते हैं, उसी तरह से ये बाहर आ रही है. द वन थिंग इन माई सराउंडिंग्स दैट इज़ नॉट पीसफुल. यही एक ऐसी चीज़ है, ऐसी इवेंट, ऐसी बात है जो कि वो पोइट ये कह रहा है कि वो उसके सराउंडिंग में हो रही है. अदरवाइज there is complete quietness, there is complete peace, there is no movement at all of any other things. Okay, now another lines. Methinks its motion in this hush of nature gives it dim sympathies with me who live, making it a companion form. So द पोइट थिंक्स कि इसका जो मोशन है, इट्स मोशन इन दिस हश ऑफ नेचर, इन दिस हश ऑफ नेचर माने इन दिस फ्रॉस्ट, बिकॉज देयर इज द हश ऑफ नेचर इज द फ्रॉस्ट इज एवरीवेयर. सो द मोशन ऑफ दिस फ्लेम, द मोशन ऑफ दिस फिल्म, that is in the mind of the poet. The poet moves towards the thinking, looking or seeing this film motion, and it gives it dim sympathies with me who live, and it gives him the dim sympathies which are very dim, which are not clear, who live. So the poet who is living, making it a companion form. So this is only the one thing that the poet sees and hears there. Otherwise there is complete silence. And therefore this film of the suit is in fact giving the company to the poet. This is only the thing that is the company of the poet. So poet and that film of the suit, whose punny flaps and freaks the idling spirit. By its own moods interrupts everywhere, echo or mirror seeking or itself, and makes a toy of thought. So it's like a companion, and that is similar to the poet. So the poet says कि my mind interrupts the suit's tiny movement. ये जो सूट है, ये जो सूट का मतलब यहाँ पे जो राख की जो वो है नीली एक तरह से उसमें से जो लो निकल रही है, उसका जो टाइनी मूवमेंट है, ट्रिवियल जो मूवमेंट है, that is as reflection of my own thought. That is the reflection of the poet's own thought. Everywhere he says I look, my mind finds echoes or mirrors of itself. चारों तरफ जब भी पोइट देख रहा है तो उसका जो है कि उस इसी का एक तरह से इको और मिरर उसको दिखाई देता है. एज ए रिजल्ट थॉट बिकम्स समथिंग ट्रिवियल एंड इजीली मैनिपुलेटेड. इसलिए जो थॉट हैं वो भी थोड़ा ट्रिवियल माने हल्के हो जाते हैं और इसलिए उनको इजीली हम मैनिपुलेट कर सकते हैं. दैट इज द पोइट moves towards thinking. This scene or this picture, that is only the voice that is only the scene that is looking there in the mid of the frost at the midnight, and this leads the poet to think, to meditate, and to I mean reflect. So this is what we have from this poem for today, dear friends. I hope you will understand it. Please try to go again with this poem so that you can better understand. The remaining stanzas of this poem we will discuss in our next lecture. Till then, bye bye. Thank you very much. See you.